So I was talking about 50 Shades of Grey, and in summation, let me put it this way. The performances are okay. The sex is bland. The story is as old as the hills. And my basic, and I'm not being snobbish when I say this, my basic reaction to it, at 2 hours, I just got bored, to be honest, because the story really wasn't going anywhere. It got to the bullet points of the sex scenes. They weren't that interesting. The characters weren't that interesting. Like I said, this story is really based on your experience of what you've read and what you've seen in books and television and movies. And this seemed kind of weak to me. I would love to see how this story would have been handled a little more realistically. Because this is a very damaging situation. A man wants to dominate a woman, and she lets him. And then there are complications. There are complications of El Corazon, because she wants to love him, but he can't love her. He has a stone heart, and we never really figure out why. And there are complications. The ending of the movie, which I'm not going to give too much away, except to say that it ends very abruptly. And all I can say is, I know there are 2 more chapters to this story. There's 50 Shades Darker and then 50 Shades Freed. But I can tell you that if those 2 stories, if those 2 books didn't exist, this movie would have ended on the perfect note. I don't know how exactly to talk about it without spoiling anything, but it would have ended on a perfectly realistic note. It ends very abruptly. It has a life goes on ending, if you don't consider that this is only the first part of the story. Excuse me. And I would have liked that. I would have liked it more with that, because she really has no reason to be with this man. He doesn't want to be with her for herself. He wants to be with her for selfish reasons. He's a very selfish man. And he's a very uninteresting man. And knowing that, I kind of wanted to see her get with somebody who was interested in her. There's another character in the movie, his name is Pablo. And he seems interesting. He's in the movie very, very rarely. He's a friend of hers from college. And it would have been more interesting to see her hook up with him, because he seemed to really like her, for her. They seem to have good chemistry. But of course that can't be the story. She's got to go with a billionaire. But my ultimate recommendation for this one is, don't see this in a theater. If you have to see this one, wait for DVD. It's not worth the trip to the theater. So, having said that, let's get to the trailers. I got some new trailers this time. I got a really weird mixture. The first one is a movie called Trainwreck, which is the new movie from Judd Apatow. And it's kind of a switch. I had recently made a comment that I was tired of the man-child comedy, you know, like the Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson kind of comedies, the man-child thing. This one seems to change genders. It basically lays the man-child on the woman, and she's the irresponsible one. It stars Amy Schumer as a woman who fears commitment. And then she meets a man who kind of challenges that. He's played by Bill Hader. And he kind of challenges that. And I like Judd Apatow. His comedies are smart. I really like This Is 40. I like Knocked Up. I loved Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I absolutely love that movie. So I'm kind of interested in this one. I want to see what it's all about. The next one was Pitch Perfect 2, which I didn't like the first one. The first one was about an a cappella group, kind of a step-up version with kind of a version of Step Up with an a cappella group, and called the Bellas. And I didn't like it. This one, they get into an international championship, and it's from what I got from the trailer, most of the jokes seem to go on the part of Rebel Wilson, and it's a bunch of fat jokes, and I was kind of turned off by that. I don't want to seem PC, but it just seemed kind of cruel that it's this woman, who's a really attractive woman, is relegated to a walking fat joke, and I really was turned off by that. The third one, there are 6 of these. Excuse me. The third one is a buddy comedy called Hot Pursuit, which has Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara. Reese Witherspoon plays a small town police officer who has to protect the widow of a drug dealer. And they go on the road, and there's all kinds of... It's a shenanigans comedy. You know, it's one damn thing after another, and to be honest, what I thought of when I saw this is I kept thinking of all those Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise comedies from the 70s. You know, movies like The End and, you know, those kinds of movies, the Smokey and the Bandit and all of that kind of stuff. That's what the trailer kind of reminded me of. I don't know. That looks like a DVD thing. The fourth one was a movie I've talked about before called The Age of Adeline. And it stars Blake Lively as a woman who gets involved in a car accident and finds out she's immortal. And then there's something that happens years later where she has to decide whether or not she wants to remain immortal or give it up to be with the man she loves. It seemed, I don't know. I don't care much for Blake Lively. She's attractive, but not a great actor. It's got Harrison Ford in it, which is, I rarely ever miss a Harrison Ford movie. The fifth one was a movie I never thought I would actually think that I would be going to see. It was Hot Tub Time Machine 2. The first one was a complete surprise. I loved the first one. It was really funny, despite its flimsy premise. This one, which does not have John Cusack in it, for some reason. Actually, I know why, because he says, well, they didn't ask me back. This one I didn't think much of, but then I saw the trailer, and I have to admit, I laughed. You know, I have to admit, I kind of laughed. This comes out next week. I may go see it. I have no idea. Comedy sequels are rarely ever really any good. The last one is one that I have no interest in. It's the new Nicholas Sparks movie, The Longest Ride, which is about an old man has a car accident, and while he's waiting to be rescued, he has a flashback to his old rodeo days. I guess that's what I got from the trailer, and he fell in love, and it's Nicholas Sparks. And not to be offensive, it's just Nicholas Sparks is just too much estrogen for me. No, thank you. I've had a lifetime of Nicholas Sparks movies, and I've only seen 2 of them. But yeah, I'm gonna skip that one. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Don't see 50 Shades of Grey in a theater. If you have to see it, wait for DVD. Visit me on my website. I'm at www.armchaircinema.com. Next week, I may see Hot Tub Time Machine. I have no idea what next week is going to be. But until then, see ya.